Hello, I'm Enzo, and how fast can a noob beat Borderlands 2? If you couldn't guess from that title, this is my attempt to see how a speedrun would go for a relatively normal player with little speedrunning knowledge. The rules of this run are, this is going to be a glitchless speedrun, so I can't intentionally use glitches or exploits, no bar to keep things consistent, and I won't be doing map skips, mostly because I don't know how to, but most normal casual players don't, so it fits. Everything else goes here, because I need every advantage I can get. Another thing to note is that I'm using the No Movies launch option to skip a few cutscenes. Well, it only skips the ones in Sanctuary, but conveniently those are ones that usually crash me. But it also makes loading screens faster, and it's just better in general. This is complete vanilla, so there are no mods, but I believe speedrunners usually use mods that remove cutscenes and prevent crashing, which, yeah, I'm gonna need to get an anti-crash mod eventually. Anyways, for the purposes of this video, I cut out all the loading screens and cutscenes to the best of my ability so that you only see the actual gameplay and speedrun. Alright, with all of that over, let's get to the actual run. Early game is a lot of waiting, especially for Claptrap and then Hammerlock. There's not too much to do here. The main thing is, of course, once I get the fast travel station, I go to Digistruct Peak to get some free XP. I had a great idea to check out other maps to try and discover places to get more free XP, but that only worked for Wham Bam Island. Now I know. I guess I should have done more research on this, but yet again, I didn't want to spoil too much because that wouldn't be very interesting if I actually knew what I was doing. I do have a general plan on all the stuff I want to get and how to do this run. This is actually my second attempt because the first attempt failed horribly midway through. But this is the actual attempt now, and it went, well, much better, for parts at least. You'll just see. As you can see in the beginning, I've been doing a ton of small optimizations I can think about. Killing the bullymongs before the mission, shooting in the air to get some of the rack. Like, all the XP I can get counts. That's important, because you can clearly see who I'm playing, and that is Gage. Gage is the only reason I'm doing this run, because I think she is best for something like this. My whole goal is to get Deathtrap as soon as possible, but more importantly, level 6 so I can get Anarchy. The earlier I can start stacking Anarchy, and thus damage, the better. And this is my standard Gage build. After I get Anarchy, I start going for Close Enough, because even though 150 stacks doesn't have crazy inaccuracy, once you get higher than that, it does. And Close Enough is good to have, especially with shotguns and stuff like that. Either way, I am shredding through early game really easily. Unfortunately, in my first attempt, I did get the legendary grenade from Boom Boom, but nothing this time. So I'll just have to go through enemies the old-fashioned way. However, I did get level 6 far earlier than last time. My main issue at this point is really just survivability. I have to be very careful with how I fight because dying is bad. At this point, it's not the worst because it's early game and I'm on or over leveled, but it does get really bad later on as I start to get severely under leveled. Early on, I'm also finding quite a bit of decent gear. No legendaries for a good portion of this run. Actually, I don't think I really used any legendaries in this run. That's kind of crazy. But some really good Jacob's pistols. The other thing that kind of sucks about not having the bonus package is Flint's fight takes a whole lot longer. Well, actually, he stays in his fire phase forever. I feel like that's the longest he's been in fire phase for me. Once that damage resistance, which has to be over 90%, goes away, he's super easy to kill. If you've got extra sharp eyes, you might have noticed that some of the clips are different speed. I'm not going to tell you what the speeds are so that I don't spoil the ending time, but it does change just a bit because some sections, like this for example, are a whole lot more boring and don't have nearly as many details, etc. The main issue with this whole video is I want to show all of the actual gameplay footage, but I want it to be in a decent amount of time, but then I also have to talk over all of it so there's no awkward quiet spots. Considering we know how all of this goes already, and how much I hate Reese, which is why I had to walk back there, I guess I can start talking about why this video took so long. If you haven't seen any of my previous community posts or my last video, pretty much early in December I got sick with the flu. Now you might be wondering why I got the flu. One time, one of the rare times I go out to a restaurant and I get it, which is tragic. It hit me really hard because I don't get the flu shots because I'm allergic to them. Yes, it's quite literally a lose-lose scenario. I get sick if I get the shot, I get sick if I don't. Oh well. So that knocked me out for about 2 weeks, and then I had a horrible cough for the rest of December. It was pretty bad, and yeah, that's why I haven't been able to upload anything, but I'm finally back to a point in the run where I can talk about some interesting stuff. I got the Anarchist class mod from one of Zed's vending machines, which is big. That's gun damage, which is awesome. I went to kill Savage Lee in the insanely low chance I actually get a Herald. Of course I didn't. And it's off to Frostburn Canyon. My guns right now aren't the worst, but they're definitely not great. However, and since I butcher pronunciation every time, I'm just gonna call it the cave gun. I need to go get that. It's an SMG that fires 2 bullets for the price of 1. Even though I got a pretty bad version, it's still insanely powerful, especially on gauge. So this is going to be what's carrying me through this entire map, which is awesome. Also, a decent blue pistol from a Loot Goon Goliath is a great help. Besides that, I'm tearing through all of the enemies, and you will see this for the entire rest of the game, but I kill as many enemies as possible to get as much XP. This is because I can't do too many side missions because some of them take way more time than it's really worth. But I managed to make it work. Also, Loot Homie, which I thought was pretty funny. I got a bunch of these guys in this run, but no legendaries from them, cause why not? As usual in a Borderlands run, combat gets harder over time, but the difficulty curve goes up a whole lot faster in this run, especially as we get to early game. I'm still wrecking absolutely everything in my path, but we're coming up to Bloodshot Stronghold, which is going to be really difficult. I found another Savage Lee before I went to the Dust, but you know my luck, no Herald. But yeah, there's nothing too crazy here. I learned that you can go to the Dust immediately after honking, killed a bunch of spider ants because the XP is really good, and fought the vehicles with my vehicle, which is still a bit dicey because they deal a ridiculous amount of damage, and the buzzard certainly wasn't helping. My other goal while in the Dust is to get the Gwen's head. It's nothing too crazy of a gun, but it'll certainly help me out. And on my way out, I found it. This is one of the locations I know. There are 5, but obviously the one in Ellie's garage is the most convenient. The cave gun absolutely melted Badmaw. It melts anything if you just shove it in their face, I guess. And the Gwen's head takes care of pretty much all the bandits in Bloodshot Stronghold. A few firework grenades also help out a ton, because you can see a lot of them had skulls. That means they're very over-leveled. This is where combat truly gets difficult because this is Bloodshot Stronghold. There are a ridiculous amount of insanely difficult enemies in here. Thankfully, the infamous toilet room wasn't too much of a hassle, and, you know, I had to use a firework grenade on Mad Mel. I was taking absolutely no chances at this point. Anyone who's seen speedruns of this game before can probably point out like a trillion things I'm doing wrong, but that's kind of the whole point. I am pretty much a casual player. Sure, I have a bunch of knowledge, but nothing related to speedrunning. Like that chest, for example. Speedrunners wouldn't get that, obviously. The only thing I've seen in terms of Borderlands speedrunning is Dark Smoke 11 speedruns, which, okay, I didn't look at all of them, to be fair. I don't know if he's done a completely normal, glitchless vanilla one, but he does a lot of exploits and skips and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, no, because I'm doing a completely different category. This is glitchless and skipless because most normal people don't know how to do skips. And honestly, I pretty much don't know any. I don't really know how to do many glitches either. Another thing I do have to say about this run though is, even though it was extremely stressful, especially later on in the run, but it was a ton of fun to do, just to see how fast and how I could optimize stuff. I could definitely figure out fast travel stations faster. That's my biggest weakness. Same with car stations, because I use a Ducky 1-2 Mini Pro. I don't actually have arrow keys that are easily accessible, at least. I started struggling quite a bit in this map near the end here, which was concerning. I'm trying to conserve as much ammo as possible because, well, Warden exists. And this is normal mode, so he's not insanely difficult, but I don't want to risk the fight at all. Yet again, dying pretty much kills the run. And thankfully that was relatively easy. And then I gotta head to Tundra Express. Now, if you see a mistake I made, well, congratulations, I made way more in this run. But pretty much I forgot to get the injector from Hammerlock for the mission, which I should have completed and turned in the mission. Long story, I only spawned like 3 total Varkids and didn't do any more because they took forever to spawn. A nice thing about this being my second attempt is the fact that lighting all the Varkids on fire was way faster. Even though it still took me a couple of fire melons, at least it wasn't 3, and however way longer the last one took. The main issue with getting the mutated Varkids for Hammerlock's mission is the fact it takes some Varkids a while to pod. They are insanely good XP, but also insanely dangerous to fight. I have to admit though, Mordecai's slag, even though it's annoying sometimes, is insanely useful. It is amazing for those Varkids. That was very convenient, and I regret not getting a slag weapon myself. Either way though, I actually died to this area in my previous attempt as well, so this is another great improvement. I also made sure that the train wasn't coming to crush me, even though, fun fact that will be very good to know for some players, Gage, I believe, doesn't lose her anarchy stacks if she dies to terrain. So if you die to like an infinite pit or a death barrier or something like that, I don't think you lose your stacks. I'm pretty sure it's only if you die to enemies. But I'm just glad that Tundra Express was way smoother than my previous attempt. I mean, not dying saves me quite a bit of time having to stack anarchy. And honestly, I couldn't think of some great joke for twin sisters, so all I'm gonna say is Kaede and Suzu. Tina knows what's up. But while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to say for this part during the run, I actually forgot to arm the missiles, so that's a little bit of time waste. But at least I optimized it by killing all the enemies while they fired. I'm still relatively chewing through the enemies, as you can, well, hopefully see with this speed. And even though I could bait out the exploders to have them blow up, I wanted the XP, so I had to take my time. Finally, Wilhelm. He was ridiculously easy, especially for being underleveled and underpowered. But that is Gage and Anarchy for you. In another run, I actually learned that if the power core launches off the map with all of his other loot, which tends to happen, it actually teleports back. Thankfully, this one didn't. And here's a very important part of my entire strategy for this run. If you turn in that mission, but do not touch the power core on the next mission, you can actually do the good, the bad, and the Mordecai early. This is insanely important because, if you know the mission reward, it's a relic that gives you a tiny bit more XP. Now, even though the one I got is 4%, that's still 4 more XP for every 100 I gain, which is significant over time. You can also get 2 legendary weapons, one from each of the enemies, Mobley and Gettle, you fight, but I think we all know my luck at this point. Now, normally you'd have to run behind Ellie's and through the whole thing, but somehow I managed to do the jump first try. I've never managed to do this before, and I've only seen Lil Gas Mask do it a little bit, so that was insane. I was insanely happy with that. This also means I can easily drive back to Ellie's and fast travel back to Sanctuary, and get on with the story. I'm going back to the slightly higher speed for now, because we all know how this all goes. It's a lot of running around back and forth, especially because I did the little good bad Mordecai skip there. And unfortunately, I'd normally save and quit then reload, but I can't do that here because I am both playing Gage and I'm not doing skips that way, but mostly because I'm playing Gage. Another thing you may have noticed in this run is the fact that the graphics are as low as possible. Besides the screen revolution, that's my monitor, which is 2560 by 1440, but all other settings are low or off. And yes, I did just get a crazy good new computer, but unfortunately, if you didn't know, on PC, Borderlands has memory leak issues. I know the footage is going extremely fast, and you probably missed it there, but that chest at the end of the bridge had an E-Tech assault rifle in it. More specifically, it was dull and corrosive as well. I had a good feeling about this. The best part is it was level 15, so I knew I had to kill as many enemies as possible so I could be able to use it. And it is absolutely beautiful. Especially with Gage's close enough skill where bullets have a 50% chance at max level to ricochet to enemies, this thing is just ridiculous. It was so powerful that it actually let me kill the bridge exploder and get over the bridge faster, which is an awesome skip. The constructor was extremely easy. Yeah, this was an amazing find, and easily one of my new favorite weapons. I used the firework grenades to deal with the Thresher cause yeah, I'm not taking any chances with that guy. And from there it was a straight shot to Overlook, where I had a good feeling this assault rifle would carry me, I just don't have any ammo upgrades. Thankfully there's an ammo vending machine right there. Now I actually do know how to do the skip for this, but that requires a lot of saving and quitting. I don't want to do that. Plus, yet again, normal person wouldn't know how to do this skip. So, beacon defense it is, but it's no trouble at all with this beautiful assault rifle. You probably can't even see what it does, but the reason I'm zooming in all the time is because it's burst. I can't tell if it's firing more shots, but I think it is. It's like a giant shotgun when you zoom in. Dude, I love this combination. This is easily one of my new favorite weapons. And it really makes me want to do an E-Tech only run sometime, which I absolutely want to do and have planned. Alright, we're almost back at Sanctuary, so let me start explaining my next goals. Obviously, the next main map is going to be the Wildlife Exploitation Preserve. I'm gonna obviously get Doctor's Missions, get the Law, which will be a very nice upgrade to my current pistol, and that beautiful corrosive dull E-Tech assault rifle is just gonna carry me through the entire place. It is, of course, going to be very over-leveled. I took a quick trip back to Sanctuary, and then finally headed there. I knew that the enemies are going to be over-leveled, as you see some skulls there, so it'll definitely be difficult, but between the assault rifle and the Law, it should go pretty decently. I really just have to worry about my survivability. The main issue is, of course, getting to the door without dying, then waiting a second, and wounding the loaders is no major issue. Same thing with pretty much the rest of all the enemies. We've already seen the insane power of this assault rifle, and even though it is severely underleveled, it still carried me for a good portion, especially because, you know, it's corrosive on armor. After a pretty close call, and needing a grenade to actually hit that fire barrel, I got another loot homie from that chest near the edge of the port. I got one from one of those 2 ammo boxes in my last attempt. Don't know what the luck there is, but that's pretty crazy. Still, no legendaries from any of them in this run. I got like 1 legendary from in the last run, but nope, not this time. Not even Pimon and Tumba that I got last time either. So yeah, that is a big part of speedrunning, it's just luck, which mine is usually pretty terrible. And of course, it can go both ways. Either I get an insanely lucky drop like a legendary or this assault rifle, or I get terrible luck, like dying, losing all my stacks, you're underleveled. Yeah. Overall, the Wildlife Preserve was not a major issue, as I usually don't struggle with it in the first place, but you know, overleveled enemies, underleveled guns does make it just slower. And now as I level up, I can actually unlock even more Anarchy stacks, which makes me more powerful over time. Alright, I may have completely forgotten. I did actually get a legendary, but it's a freaking nasty surprise. I'm not using that thing, especially when I already have the fireworks grenade. If it were a different, better grenade, I would probably use it instead, but yeah, not that. Besides that though, nothing really happened in the preserve. It's at this point that I was really starting to think of what weapons I could get, because there's nothing because my main issue, yet again, is having underleveled weapons. I don't know when I'll find another decent weapon. In a lot of these runs, you generally want to route what weapons you'll be using, because you can get some really good ones from missions, but I don't have anything good for missions for a good while now. It's really just luck of the draw, but it's finally time to go fight Bloodwing. Now, at first you just gotta wait a bit for all the dialogue and everything before she actually becomes vulnerable. And yeah, this was a really easy fight. I don't think I've ever struggled with Bloodwing, especially with the insane damage I get from Anarchy. Obviously accuracy is an issue, but Jacob's pistols have really good accuracy, so it kind of mitigates it. From there, it's just a very long run back to Sanctuary. And I know it skipped over it for literally a second, but that was a very close second wind I got from that loader. I definitely should not have stuck around. I was hoping to maybe get some decent loot, but yeah, I got nothing, as usual. I didn't realize until editing the video that I really didn't change my weapons too much throughout this run. That's just how good Anarchy is, and the fact that I just didn't find anything good. Like, this is still my loadout through all of 1,000 cuts, which is pretty ridiculous, but it works. I have the Law for general use, and then the E-Tech assault rifle is great for armor enemies especially, but it works on normal flesh. Just not great on shields, and obviously since all the robots are armor, it makes quick work of them. So it was really just a slog. It wasn't anything too insanely difficult. The only decent things I got were a shotgun and a new SMG, because I didn't have a fourth weapon that I was using. Now that I think about it, 1,000 cuts is really just a major time sink. This initiation takes a while to do, with enemies occasionally getting stuck up there, so that's one problem. Then you gotta wait for Brick to walk to the door for Jack to talk. You know, I really never thought about it like this, but now that I'm speedrunning, yeah, I see all these time sinks. And let us not forget how long it takes Brick to walk to all of the different mortars, then waiting to do his animation and break them. Oh well, it could certainly be worse. It is a lot of wasted time, but nowhere near as bad as something like Borderlands 3, so I can't really complain. And of course, it's time for Opportunity. I just have to head back to Sanctuary, get 2 side missions that you can do there, because yet again, squeeze out any XP I can possibly get, and have a very close call with my car almost falling off the bridge. Now, Opportunity wasn't insanely difficult either. My E-Tech assault rifle still holds up very well because of, well, corrosive again, but I could definitely tell it was getting insanely difficult in terms of survivability. So I'm gonna have to take a bit more time going throughout this place. I somehow missed one of the surveyor lures because I wasn't paying attention, and had some trouble with Jack's body double because of all the enemies around him. Yes, enemy density is rearing its ugly head yet again, and it's an issue in another run. Now, I certainly could have optimized my route through Opportunity, but I wasn't thinking about that at the time. I had to do the main mission, then home movies, and Hell Hath No Fury. So yeah, definitely better way to do this, but I don't think a normal player would really know how to route this entire map most efficiently. The neat thing is I did get the black hole shield, but it's not that good, especially compared to the old one. I really just need capacity at this point, not the singularity effect of the black hole. Even though it is neat and has very, very niche uses, yeah, not good for me right now. But I've been thinking about it, and one way I could have potentially optimized this is by going to the right when you start out, like I did, get the surveyor lures, then place them, then keep going to the left, get the beacon, maybe kill the foreman, and then go to Jack's body double. Then you're at the middle of the map. You need to do all 4 of the voice samples. I guess you would get some of the samples, then go do the crane. You come back to the middle of the map, complete the samples. I'm actually not sure. Either way though, that's Opportunity wrapped up, and I can continue on with the story, which as most of us know is Angel Core. Since I am used to saving and quitting to skip the dialogue here, I made a major mistake and wasted like 7 minutes of time doing this. I forgot to get Claptrap. Yep, I didn't realize that until I finally got to the door. When I did, I was like, oh, that's bad. That's a lot of wasted time. And indeed, it was. So yeah, I think I should have fast traveled there and then back immediately so I skip the dialogue, but also get Claptrap. Yeah, big mistake. But that is absolutely not my biggest concern right now. I am seeing level 25 robots. And my level 15 corrosive gun was finally showing its age, and I've swapped to completely new weapons now. Which, yeah, they're decent, but they're not the best. I would like an elemental weapon, just haven't found anything good enough to be using. Maybe I should have just taken a basic corrosive or shock weapon instead. That is probably the smart play here. I was mostly just concerned about pure damage from the guns. Now, this is where I actually lost my last run because I died here, which is a major setback and I just couldn't bring the run back. This time though, things were a whole lot smoother and I played it way slower, which is the smart way to do everything. Mortars are extremely dangerous. Even though I didn't get hit by one, I really don't want to find out what would happen if I did. Same thing during the part with Brick. I really didn't want to get 1 or 2 shot by the mortars. The baby turrets were super annoying because ricochet angles and everything. The pillars have like a weird indent and I have to hit inside that indent or on the pillar for my bullets to actually ricochet onto them. But they're not the biggest issue here either. I got 2 more loot dudes, which is just crazy by the way. But yes, it's the baddie constructor back here. That is my issue. Thankfully, I can just sit behind him, have a insanely close call, and deal with him thanks to anarchy and ricochets. And yes, I know that constructors have like a 90% explosive resistance, but this pistol is still my best weapon, so that's definitely what I'll be using for pretty much everything. At least until I can find another decent weapon. Now that we're at Bunker, I faced a major issue I actually didn't expect. That is the autocannons. Now, the ones on the ground that are easy to access are, well, easy to destroy. The main issue is the ones that spawn on like the sides and on the raised platforms. That is because all of my guns have horrible accuracy, thanks to anarchy, so hitting them is almost impossible, especially the upside down one. That was definitely the worst. Thankfully though, the insane damage I get from anarchy makes this whole section relatively easy. But I'm still facing the major and unending problem of enemy density. Since I haven't gotten this far in my previous attempt, I had no clue what to expect from Bunker. I really wish I had better weapons, but the pistol is still my best bet for dealing with it. I've been using my firework grenades to deal with the autocannons because I know they'll be an issue. And the weird thing is that Bunker didn't bring out the massive gun till near the end. The more bizarre thing is the fact it was targeting buzzards and not me. Am I really that underleveled that doesn't consider me a threat? I'm certainly not complaining because that made the fight a whole lot easier. The only decent thing I got from Bunker was a decent shield. My guns are still pretty bad, but I love Torg pistols. They're one of my favorite weapon types, especially when you get a flat off barrel so you have crazy good fire rate on it. Yes, they are amazing. One thing you might have also realized is since I'm playing Gauge, to make sure I don't accidentally reload, I actually rebinded my reload key to the backslash, I think. Something, I'll never accidentally press. And instead of going Discord, because I'm not accidentally reloading, I should have put the other point into fancy mathematics, which gives you crazy shield recharge rate and better shield recharge delay. So it's a really good skill, especially at 5 points. Either way, I'm in Angel Core now, and the biggest issue is actually dealing with the shock field generators. Everything else was a piece of cake, which is very nice. Obviously survivability is still an issue, but the kiss of death I got from Moxie from completing her mission and opportunity is finally useful now. The only true threat here is the angelic guards, as they always are. Those things are just an absolute menace. Besides that though, I could just deal with most enemies with this pistol. Yet again, I love Torg pistols. And honestly, I think that was a very fast Angel Core. I don't think there's any way to really optimize that, so I was happy with that result. I'm glad that Angel Core went this smoothly because man, I was not prepared for what was ahead. If you think I am underleveled right now, well, just get ready. I am about to have some serious issues with the Iridium Blight, and well, we all know my least favorite map in the game. But I'm not there yet, so you're not ready for that rant. I'm currently just going through Sanctuary. I got a side mission. I actually didn't know that Marcus gives it that early. The main issue is that the Iridium Blight is a mild time sink because I keep driving back and forth. And by the way, who decided that the door right there would open and close super slow like that? Like seriously, how is that good for gameplay? It's really just an annoyance to be there. Once I got a little bit into Sawtooth Cauldron, I could immediately tell these guys were going to be way too difficult. I seriously needed to level up. Thankfully, part of my plan can be executed now. That is going to do all of Mal's quests for the Fibber, which is an insanely powerful weapon, assuming you get the right roll, especially with Gauge. This is a decent opportunity to get some more XP, but it also involves me running around the map multiple times. So it does eat up some time, but I think it's absolutely worth it because, you know, Sawtooth Cauldron is stupidly difficult. Since I am going to be here for a while, this definitely was a larger time sink than I remember. I was actually thinking about the main issue of having terrible weapons. The largest issue, especially at this point, is me being so underleveled I have to wait a while to be able to use new weapons. That's literally the problem, which means my inventory management is getting very sloppy. I have to hold on to weapons forever. It's just an entire mess. I don't recommend it. After this, I'm getting really close to finally getting that Fibber. Since it goes by literally in a flash, guess what? I actually got a decent roll. I don't remember the grip now, but it doesn't really matter. It is a fire one with the ricochet. I could tell that because there was no multiplier in the stats. Well, yeah, from the stats. Alright, I didn't know that at the time, but I had a good feeling that was a ricochet one, which is exactly what I needed. But unfortunately, I won't be able to use it for a while. So, back to attempting Sawtooth Cauldron. I was dreading this level, but I have nothing else to do right now. It didn't start out that well. I almost died to my own grenade, which definitely cannot be a good sign. I knew I'd have to rely a lot on these grenades, which I didn't want to in this run, but it is in my arsenal, so I'll use what I can take. The normal enemies were easy, but guess what? Tragedy struck and I died to a freaking buzzard. That is borderline run ending. Besides losing literally all of my damage from losing all my anarchy stacks, the buzzards are still around. Thankfully, Deathtrap handles them really well, and since I have all my accuracy back, I guess I can try again. Even though I was planning to clear out all the enemies to get XP, I literally have to do it now because I need my anarchy back. So that's gonna be what all of this is. The main issue with trying to kill enemies, again, is my lack of damage. It's like a death spiral, it just keeps getting worse. Speaking of death spiral, when I go into fight for my life, guess what? I lose more stacks. So I keep going and fight for my life. Wait a minute, this is a death spiral. Yeah, this is pretty bad. But somehow, by some skill, I managed to actually recover, which is crazy. However, much like my flu and then horrible cough in real life, it was a slow recovery. I do have to admit, it is very satisfying feeling your damage go up as you kill more enemies. I think that's why I love anarchy and stacking skills in video games so much. It's definitely a monkey brain thingy. Number go up, look nice, I guess. Anyways, I think we know what's next. It's the ambush commanders. And I am not taking any chances with them. I'm just going to spam skyrockets. I don't want to deal with them today. Plus, I've already died once. Isn't that bad enough? Haven't I suffered enough already? Well, trust me, it doesn't end there. Sawtooth Cauldron is all about suffering, and we are nowhere near the end of it just about yet. There's still threshers. Oh, speaking of threshers, there was a baddie fire one. Lovely. If I had no anarchy already, the game just does that. Alright though, I certainly was thinking it couldn't get worse. I mean, threshers are pretty bad, but nothing I can't handle, considering I can get up close and personal. It's the buzzards I'm gonna have to worry about, and the crazy enemy density in this area. Thankfully though, I am getting more damage back, which means I can work my way through these enemies. It's getting pretty good. I had real hope here. Oh, what's that? Do I sound like I'm foreshadowing something? Oh no. Well, yeah, pretty much the next worst thing to dying just happened. My game crashed. I guess I made it this far, even though graphics are at minimum. That is pretty much the worst thing that can actually happen. To have any chance of saving the run at this point, I turned in Marcus's mission for XP and changed up my skill tree so that I had the skill that has a chance to give you double anarchy stacks. I absolutely need it. But getting back to Sawtooth Cauldron did not start out good by any means, so I knew this was going to be really bad. So I took a quick peek at the footage, and the first run through took 20 minutes. Now on one hand, I had to do the mission objectives and everything, but I cleared out all the enemies, and I have to do that again here for more anarchy. So unfortunately, this is going to take around the same amount of time. That's like 40 minutes sunk into this place. Now, if it were just 20, that wouldn't be so bad. But yes, truly unfortunate, and that's exactly what I've been saying about luck with speedrunning. Just like an unfortunate death to a thresher there, this is just getting worse and worse. But, as a man once famously said, the fiery heart of a champion cannot be quelched. And on the bright side of losing all my anarchy, I get my accuracy back, which means I can hit headshots unlike Goliaths and use that to my advantage. It's also great for dealing with buzzards, because guess what? Those are coming up. Also the gun turrets, which are a menace in normal mode, but apparently they're bugged and take crazy damage in true and ultimate Fall Hunter mode, which I very much like. I don't like dealing with them. Especially if you've ever played Borderlands 1, you'll know how terrible those things are. I had a few close calls in this place because of the crazy difficulty of the enemies, but in the end, I finally got all those stupid buzzards, and I can be back on my way to deal with Mortar. And unfortunately, all the enemies are still down here because they haven't been cleared out this run. I got some firework grenades to deal with Mortar because he's another enemy I'm not taking my chances with, but no legendary because, of course not. Well, Sawtooth Cauldron most definitely could have gone a lot better, but hey, I managed to save it in the end. The top part was surprisingly easy. I thought this would have been a whole lot worse, but I was hiding behind structures the whole time because, yeah, I'm still pretty squishy considering how over-leveled the enemies are at this point. But that nightmare is finally over, and I can head to one of my favorite maps, the Arid Nexus. I like both parts of it. It's a very cool map. I'm gonna do this just in real quick for a chance at the B shield. Yet again, we know my luck, but hey, at least it's XP. You always have to think of the bright side. I gotta head back to Sanctuary real quick to turn this in, but once I can get back to the Arid Nexus, it's finally time to get on with the game. I'm using the saw technical to do a little skip there, where you can just hit the thing without having to go up it, which is very nice. The only issue is the hitbox is derpy, so you can't drive around the slag pools. That's mostly because if you get out of a vehicle while you're slagged in a vehicle, you get permaslagged, so the effect never goes away. Considering I am this squishy already, I really can't let that happen, because you can see how much I'm struggling with even these enemies. That was a stupidly close second wind. So yeah, I'll just have to play slow and distance, but I still died. That's really bad, again. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do in this situation but press on. And yes, for a little bit I was using the Evil Smasher. I actually got the special effect a couple of times, and obviously it's good when you can get that, but when you don't have it, it is absolutely horrible. It's gonna take me a while to restack my anarchy yet again, but the main issue is I'm heading to the third pumping station, which is generally the worst due to most of the enemies wielding rocket launchers or snipers, as you can see there. It's really bad that I respawned there because I had to wait for the elevator, but thankfully my car was relatively close to the pipeline. The only issue is I'm 99% sure I permaslagged myself. Considering the fact I almost got 2-shot, yeah, I think I'm permaslagged, which is bad. I need to get rid of that. So, after I dealt with all of the skags near this area and I fast traveled, I saved and quit. I only had a little bit of anarchy, so it wasn't too bad. To maximize the XP I can get here, I immediately went to the middle of the map. If you guys didn't know, one of the skags here drops an echo. This starts a mission, where you need to kill skags and the chance to get the parts. I always kill the mission skag first, so that I hopefully get all 4 parts, which means I don't have to save and quit. I literally didn't use the gun because it's another Jacobs assault rifle, and they're definitely not my favorite, but it'll definitely be worth the extra XP I'll get from it. Killing all these skags is also great because they're pretty easy targets, I mean, obviously. And as we all know, I'm using this to stack anarchy, and so on and so forth. I have 2 more goals here. If you've seen my videos before, you probably know one of them. The first goal is getting one of my favorite weapons in the game, the Bone Shredder, my beloved. If you caught it there, that was a corrosive Bone Shredder, and it's level 27, making getting level 27 even more important now. So that drop is technically under level, but man, in this run, I will gladly take that. The second goal obviously is getting a Lady Fist from this mission. This is one thing I know speedrunners use, as well as the Fibber, because this thing is just broken with 800% crit damage. I really thought it wouldn't come in handy throughout this run, but it actually did right at the end. One of the interesting things I do know is the fact there's some sort of skip to get all the way up there without having to fight Saturn, but I guarantee you I have no clue how to do that, so fighting Saturn it is. In my last video run, I figured out this little strategy where you can hide behind the fence there. It's a whole lot easier and better than just running inside the room and hiding. That just takes forever. I don't have any really good guns for this fight, that is the main issue, but this was a relatively easy Saturn fight, especially for being this underleveled. I guess I just figured out the strategy. That's pretty neat. The next major issue is going to be all the robots, and of course that baddie constructor that spawns up there. Thankfully, my anarchy is still relatively low, so I have decent accuracy, and I actually beamed it, which is just awesome. We're going at a really good pace now. The best part is the fact that gets me way closer to level 27. Considering what I just got with the Bone Shredder, once I get 27, well, it's shredding time. This is just the craziest Bone Shredder I've ever gotten. Getting an element on the Bone Shredder is insanely rare, and corrosive, which is like the best for this endgame, yeah, that's just ridiculous. If you didn't notice earlier when I got the Fibber, I can't blame you, everything's going by so fast. Unfortunately, it is a fire element. I would have liked anything else, because fire is like the worst currently. A shock one would have been perfect, but hey, corrosive Bone Shredder absolutely made up for it. This makes the door defense infinitely easier than usual. The crazy thing though is with Anarchy, the Fibber's ricochet still does good damage against robots. Even though it's fire against armor, yeah, this is just how good Gage is. I know most of the community doesn't like playing her, but I really do, and I'm excited to stream a Vladoff Gage run sometime. That's an idea I've been cooking up for a long time now. After a bit of waiting though, it's on to Heroes Pass. One of the main things I kind of forgot about is why this run took so long to get out in the first place. And in the end, you'll actually see when I did this run and just how fast I tried to get this video out. So it's a very long story, and getting sick obviously ruined my last run. But the other issue with it was I actually didn't truly beat it. And I was trying to make a video out of it, I just wasn't happy with the result. One thing I've noticed is if I'm not happy with a run, which I was not, it was pretty horrible, or the video, then the video does really bad. So I do apologize for this taking so long to get out, but there are just some things out of my control. The one thing that isn't out of my control is that death, though. That was pretty horrible. Losing all of my anarchy stacks, yet again, is a major setback, and it just brings back the death spiral, or at least spiral of anarchy loss. But at this point, I have no choice, literally, because I need this video out and I need to beat this run. So I keep on going, losing my anarchy stacks multiple times, but it is what it is. It should be extremely obvious, but this run could have gone way better than it did. But you know what? It wasn't truly that bad in the end. For being my first full and real speed run, it actually went pretty well. This is mostly because I have decent knowledge of Borderlands 2 and I knew what my general routing would be, and obviously all the speedrun tricks, but I'm not interested in learning those. At first, and I still believe this, but I think speedrunning is insanely stressful and absolutely not for me, but it certainly was a very fun run to learn. And it mostly makes me want to play Gage again, because like I said earlier, I genuinely do enjoy playing as her. Once I figure out something to help with crashing, I might actually try this again, because there are quite a few mistakes I would like to fix, especially like getting Moxie weapons for healing. I think that's one of the big mistakes I made, and I should have played it slower so I didn't die and lose all of my stacks. Okay, the buzzards were unavoidable. Either way though, the ending kind of made up for it. Jack literally just gets melted. He was there for a split second. The main issue is actually the warrior, which I had no clue how I was going to beat until I remembered I had the Lady Fist, which has a disgusting TDR grip. But with having almost no anarchy, this is pretty much the only way I can actually deal damage to the warrior. At this point though, I was just glad that the run was pretty much over, and that this video is too. I tried to condense this thing as much as physically possible while still showing all of the footage. So what was the end time of this run? Well, I still took a bit of time because gotta wait for this whole part and everything. Cutscene obviously doesn't count, but the total time was 5 hours, 15 minutes, and 38 seconds. I am 99% sure that includes cutscenes, so if I have something to cut that out, that's probably a lot of time saved. And in case you were wondering, I probably would have saved like 20 minutes if Sawtooth Cauldron didn't happen, or the mistakes there at least, because it still would have taken 20. So I'm saying under 5 hours. That's the time in my heart. You know, I actually haven't even checked like speedrun.com to see the actual times. I maybe don't want to know at this point, because this is nowhere near a world record. I know that for a fact. It's probably not even top 1,000 at best. The true bright side of this run is the fact I got a freaking corrosive conference call from the warrior. That's a ridiculously rare drop on its own. Even though this was the moonshot kill, so it's a higher chance. But hey, I got the relic too. Anyways, thank you all for making it to the end of this video, and just watching in general. Especially thank you to my channel members. And this is going to be Enzo from LookIntoGaming, finally signing out.